this game ends up going the distance here, simply because... Welcome to Secret Spring for game number 2 of the Hot Seat Best of 9 here on Ding It TV. I'm JoRoSaR, but more importantly, here are 2 incredibly talented players for your delectation. Spawning on the 8 o'clock position is the blue Terran player on Secret Spring, losing a very protracted game number 1 with a lot of medevacs going down. I have to say that was a key component in that loss. Can he make it back up and bring this best of 9 series back to level footing? Representing Team Liquid.net, it's Bunny. His opponent spawning in the 2 o'clock position as the yellow Zerg player. He plays for mYinsanity and hails from New Zealand. He has won 4 Hot Seat Best of 9s in a row, a veteran of the format. Can he keep his winning streak up and go all the way to 5 whole weeks of Best of 9 against incredibly talented players? It's Petraeus. And you know what? Right now, after that game number 1, a lot of people who were like, oh, Bunny defeated Hyun and Solkey, guys, recently. He's absolutely got this in the bag. You know what? He could still win this, but I can hear a couple of people second-guessing themselves from here right now. Petraeus played a very convincing game 1, and that macro game allowed him to take the lead. I think in the first half of the game, he did drop behind in supply a little bit, so I'm not going to say, oh, the player who won the game was always better, because he wasn't. But Petraeus did weather the storm in that period of the game where he was basically 20 to 30 supply down for quite a lot of that mid-game, where Bunny was constantly pressuring his 4th base. Bunny could maybe have done something a little differently to try and force the game at that point, because Petraeus was struggling just a little bit then. But after surviving that and constantly taking out the medevacs after engaging with the banelings there, I mean, he just made it increasingly difficult for Bunny to make any sort of inroads into his position. So I love, absolutely love what Petraeus did there. I think it was fantastic. And in my opinion, at the end of the game, I thought that was thoroughly deserved. But let's see if Bunny can shake things up in game number 2, because a very, very different map. Once again, we have the in-base expansion here. A little bit more open, I would say, to sort of early game harass, especially by those Banshees. And this Reaper is only going to go in for intel right now, guys. That's all we're going to be checking out. He went in, saw that the natural expansion was there, and that was basically it for now. So nothing too much to worry about just yet. Reaper's friend, though, Reaper 2. So we've got John and Bob, ladies and gents, both going to be joining in the fun. We're not going to have Tim by the looks of things, because we do have a reactor going down behind this and the factory. So once again, we'll have the Hellion follow-ups as these Reapers look to see if they can get any sort of damage on. I love it when they sort of hang around here off of creep, knowing that the drones are going to get transferred at some point, but they are instead going to be moving back. 1 Zergling killed so far, and not quite able to pick off a drone. And, ooh, needs to be careful with that Queen shot, but getting away with both just fine here. Meanwhile, this wall is complete, and the factory will land on top of the reactor instantaneously to go ahead and grab those Hellions out. And that's the cue for this Overlord to move into the base and see exactly what's going on. He was just looking for the 3rd command center. Petraeus has seen it now, knows what he's playing against. Double Hellion production and more Reapers on the way. So some early game aggression coming out here from our Team Liquid player in game number 2 to try and even things out a little bit here. Now, layer has started inside the main base rather than the natural expansion for Petraeus. And he's using this time in the game just to continue to macro up. And that's interesting given what he has seen with this Overlord. But, well, we can see the Hellions coming out. He didn't actually spot the starport, but did see the 3rd command center. So he knows that if there's any Banshee harass, it's going to be later than usual. So perhaps that was his motivation there. This Overlord, by the way, is back down here so that he can potentially spot any additional buildings a little later on. So if anyone's wondering where he went, that's exactly where. We now have the Reaper Hellion Force moving up potentially towards the ramp area now. And this would be really frustrating, actually, if we had a Spine Crawler or similar here. Yes, the Reapers can go up, but he really wants the Hellions to move together. And here we go. A couple of Zerglings are not actually going to cut the mustard here in terms of this defense. We need to see possibly a little bit of static. A Queen goes down as well. Early in this engagement, the Lings are clumped up on the ramp, and Bunny might be smelling blood here. I think he can sense there's a potential for a quick win here in game number 2. The Spine Crawler completely out of the action, nowhere near the ramp. And he's positioning it to try and stop reinforcements from coming in, but he still has to deal with these. Some drones are coming off the line to defend against this now. Number of workers killed so far this game, only 3, but he's made some fantastic inroads. I'm wondering if he wants to go up to the natural. It doesn't look like it so far. Killing off all the Zerglings as well, so really sending Petraeus into panic mode. Game-ending damage? No, but very encouraging from Bunny's point of view. Petraeus now has to get that spine crawler routed. That's roughly where we could have had it before. There we go. He's moving it right next to the ramp like we were discussing. And he's going to be able now to defend a little bit easier because Reapers would have to come in without the support of Hellions if he wants to avoid this spine crawler here at the top of the ramp. In the meantime, Baneling Nest and Spire both going down now. He's going to need a decent number of units. He doesn't have as many Queens as he had last game at this point. The slightly delayed, by the way, starport is going to go down, and this time we're not going to have Banshees like we mentioned earlier due to the earlier 3rd command center. We are instead going to put a reactor down on this factory, which is basically an add-on making machine right now, and we're going straight into medevac production. So there is potential here for an absolutely massive ongoing attack. There's a lot of Marines here. We're waiting for Combat Shield and Stim to complete. 1-1 is on the way as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an armory soon and follow up with potential Hellbat pushes. And a 3rd base has now gone down for Petraeus. Now, he successfully held his 3rd and his 4th bases last game against Bunny. But I would kindly like to show you guys something here. We have the main base. That is the in-base natural. And allow me to zoom out and show you how far he has to travel to maintain the position at the 3rd base. This, guys, is really, really far away. It's a little bit more closed off, I suppose. There are 2 big ramps up to this 3rd base, but it wasn't completely wide open, like on Vani. But it's still such a long way from the main and natural expansion that this could be a problem to defend if Bunny chooses to attack it. We'll see if he ends up going up there, though. He hasn't seen that hatchery yet, but it looks like he's sniffing it right now, and he is going to go up the ramp. The hatchery is almost complete. Now, how is Petraeus going to defend this? He's not. Okay, he's cancelled it straight away. This was the problem we were talking about. Massive distance to cover, and Petraeus has simply acknowledged he can't do this. Now, that's a huge problem for our Zerg player right now, who's trying to counterattack with some Mutalisks, because Bunny's now on 3 bases, and Petraeus is on 2. It's great when the Terran is equal on bases with the Zerg, so the Terran's currently a base up on the guy. This is a problem. Admittedly, he's had to lift, but he's going to be able to land that any second now. And these Mutalisks, well, if we just get a bunch of Marines down here, these Mutas aren't going to be able to do very much to stop this from happening. Simultaneously, we have a drop inside the main base. Really good reactions, though, and a bunch of Banelings coming out from Petraeus to stop that from coming in. 3/4 of the way done is Baneling speed. He's really going to need that if he wants to continue to deal with this drop-heavy damage. And once again, the 3rd base gets cancelled. A much, much more positive game from Bunny this time around. And he's got a major advantage right now. In fact, not being able to take a 3rd base is going to seal the deal. GG! And the Liquid Bunny, ladies and gents, takes the win to tie up the series 1-1 after game number 2.